Today's news is the same as the news yesterday, and the news is the same week after week, month after month. It's orchestrated for the purposes of shaping our minds. The weapons on Americans have to be removed, so there will be continuous mass shootings. That doesn't mean they're real, but it means they will be in the news. The news will be dictated by the need to take away weapons from the Americans. And then the issue of gay rights, homosexual identity, we'll need more and more news items reinforcing that everyone should like homosexuals and understand that it's totally normal and that the children should be taught about it. And in fact, nothing should be spared in the consideration and concern for homosexuality. This is what is called human rights. In Islam, they say, men are guilty of ego, but women are guilty of vanity. And I think in the case of the homosexual male, the issue of the vain and the vanity is critical and perhaps important, more important than anything else. And so there's a continuous striving that their vanity should be appreciated, and this is not healthy. And the identity is very suspect. And I think it's one of the isms that our Jewish oligarchy have given the world. I think it's an imposed identity. I think people do things in private on their own. It's never been a political identity, but now it is. And it's more important to them than their heritage, their country. All of those things can be sacrificed for the need to have homosexuals accepted everywhere. And we've constantly got Obama himself talking about it, also UN committees and everybody on earth. It's just on the news, in the news, and it's going to continue to be that way. Orlando is not the last of it. There are going to be many more in the future. So the other problem is ISIS, which happens to outlaw homosexuality. And it's preaching that it wants a caliphate. And Afghanistan was bombed because they declared a caliphate. Anyone that declares a caliphate is going to get bombed. And everything that goes wrong anywhere is going to get blamed on those that wish to have a caliphate. That's the reality we live in. The CIA director, who should be a very important person, has just been giving information to the Senate committee how the ISIS threat is going to continue on the Western world. Now, I don't believe Brussels was real. I don't believe Paris, Charlie Hebdo. I don't believe any of those things were real. There's enough evidence, if you want to look into it, to show that they're unbelievable. Israelis had a big hand in Brussels. They had the copyright of the video footage of the people fleeing the airport. They started up the security service in the airport. The airport had a previous announcement that hall was closed for construction purposes at the time of the bombing. Anyway, forensics is not my thing. But there you've got the CIA director telling the Senate Committee on Intelligence that there's going to continue to be an ISIS threat, which means America gets to bomb more people in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, any place where Islam is professed. So now in Fallujah, due to the war crimes, there's a huge, humongous, terrible birth defects continuously. This is through the American war crimes, through the weapons they have used. They are still bombing Fallujah now. Every day they're bombing Fallujah. And they're bombing all around Iraq and Syria. No one can stop them. And no one's trying to stop them. The whole world goes along with these hoax stories and hoax news events. After Brussels, which I believe is totally unreal, never happened, the Belgian Air Force says it's going to start bombing ISIS, and it did, and it has been. And Paris the same. And Britain is bombing them as well. Tens of thousands of bombs on these people. I know nothing about them. I've never heard a word from them. But it's an unreal portrayal. And they took over an area the size of a European country. And you don't do that without popular support. Anyway, that's it. The news will be the same for a long time. like homosexuals, take the guns away from Americans, and condemn Islam. The Islamic mayor of London has a gay flag outside his office so he can commemorate the supposed dead of Orlando. We're in the Never Never Land. People have lost all identity, and if the state grew out of what had previously been tribes and clans, the state has now collapsed. There's nothing to rally around anymore. Not to suggest the EU is a good idea, or the TTIP, or any of these great amalgamations. No, they're not a good idea. But the notion that the English could stick together, or the Italians, or the French, or the Americans, has gone out the window. It's been destroyed. People have become atomized, alienated, hypersensitive, afraid, a constant pounding away by the news to be afraid, constant and unreal stories. We used to make the movies in Hollywood, in studios. Now they're made on the street, and they're called a news event. Okay, if you can help with any donation, please send something along to the PayPal address, the Skrill account. It will keep me going to fight another day. I really scanned the news today for a long time. Nothing new under the sun. So Trump wants to put all the mosques under surveillance. He's out to kill Islam. That's what our ruling Jewish hierarchy want. I think it's self-evident. That's what's happening in the Middle East and everywhere else. So Muslims will feel persecuted everywhere. And we'll just turn into this New World Order entities with no attachments to anything. Maybe some conjured up identity politics for us to rally around.